Chapter 27. Just another cliché love story. Paris any time of year is amazing, but in the spring, it's a special kind of amazing. The flowers are in bloom, and Parisians float slightly above the ground as they traverse their city. Welcome to the City of Light, where love is in the air, and that is as ubiquitous as a French cafe. If this doesn't make your heart come alive, then there is little that can be done to jumpstart your passion for life. Add a beautiful woman to the occasion, and as the French say, la vie est une fleur de l'amour est l'ami. I rose early around 7 a.m. on the day of Adi's arrival to take in the city before she landed. I sat drinking in the early morning air as I sipped a cappuccino and ate one of the flakiest croissants I've ever had that could only be described as a French masterpiece. I felt absolutely vibrant knowing that I had no more show responsibilities for the next few days and brimmed with anticipation from getting to spend them with Adi. Looking back on this time, there was really no part of me that thought that this date would be anything less than spectacular. Normally, I would feel slight apprehension about spending 5 days with someone I had only briefly met, but there wasn't a scintilla of apprehension in my being. Something deep inside of me knew that what was about to occur would be nothing short of magical. I sat and watched as Parisians popped in and out of this delightful cafe in Saint-Germain to pick up a pastry and an espresso on their way to work that day. I love being in a foreign city. I love watching how the locals live, and I adored the absolute lack of responsibility I had while watching them complete their everyday mundane tasks of daily life. I felt like a child, watching as the adults prepared to work for the day while I had the day to play in whatever way I chose. After my morning snack, I walked back to my room at Les Lampes Blancs. I traversed the stairs to room 23 to await Adi. I knew that she would arrive at 10 a.m., and I wanted to shower and be ready by the time she arrived. My room was a typically small Parisian room decorated in baby blue, and though it wasn't roomy, it was absolutely delightful. A cracked window invited a divine breeze that wafted through the room, highlighted by the sound of traffic bustling below on Boulevard Saint-Michel. This made for the perfect environment to get ready for a date that would change my life forever. I showered and got dressed while I listened to French traditional music to make the morning even more cliché. Something had come over me that I couldn't quite explain. You will meet a woman in Paris. The words that were whispered to me not long ago on that January evening drifted back to me, echoing through my consciousness once again. As I remembered these words, I felt my phone, as if on cue, vibrating on the small table beside the bed. I looked down to see a message from Adi. I'm here. Holy shit, she's here. The reality sank in immediately that this was really happening. I guess we're doing this, I said to myself. In that instant, it hit me. I would be spending 5 days in a foreign city with a woman that I hadn't even gone on a date with. Much later, Adi told me that her sister had said to her upon dropping her off at the airport to fly to Paris, even a great date has to end. You'll be with him for 5 days. Adi said she really hadn't thought about that until her sister left her with these parting words as she entered the airport. There was something that was drawing us together that defied logic. It made little sense, and this is why I'm so grateful that sometimes the universe often chooses to omit certain logical aspects of the magic that it creates. I realize now in hindsight that it's best not to see the entire picture, because if we tried to apply logic to this, then neither Adi nor I would have ever done it. We would have never met in Paris. With the next text I received from Adi, I realized that I had never given proper instructions on the best way to get transportation from the airport. I'm in kind of a predicament. 2 cab drivers are fighting over me. Getting transportation at Charles de Gaulle Airport can be tricky if you're an inexperienced foreign traveler going there for the first time. Helpful drivers will offer to carry your bags to your car the moment you step out of the airport for a fee that is often 3 times the cost of a normal ride. Adi experienced this firsthand. Go back inside the airport and ask someone to help you find a cab, I instructed her. She heeded my advice and headed back inside. I didn't hear from her again until I finally got a text that said, I'm in a cab, headed for the hotel. You will meet a woman in Paris. That woman was on her way. I finished putting some product in my hair while I listened to music and waited for her arrival. It didn't seem to be much time passed when I heard a knock at the door. This surprised me because no one knew where I was. It never occurred to me that it would be Audie because I naturally assumed she would call from the front desk. I opened the door, and there she stood. "Hi," she said with a smile that could light up the sky. "Hi," I said. And then we kissed. Not one word was spoken. No "nice to see you," no "how was your trip," no "how are you." We went from hi to lips in less than 10 seconds. Well, let me say, we attempted to kiss. In our excitement, as we moved in to kiss each other, we banged our teeth together. Noticeably. Awkwardly. In a lot of instances, this would have been a bad omen. But as our teeth banged against each other, we just looked at one another for a nanosecond, smiled, and then attempted our second kiss. The second kiss was a success. Almost all lips and maybe even a little bit of tongue. It was electrifying, and any hesitation I may have had about the next 5 days instantly vanished. I felt like we had done this thousands and thousands of times before, in another lifetime maybe. After kissing each other for what was a very nice few moments, I realized that Audie had just traveled across the Atlantic and was probably looking to freshen up after a long trip. Putting it delicately, Paris rooms are very intimate. I wanted to be mindful to give her some time alone to get ready for our first date in Paris. With this in mind, I uttered my first real person-to-person sentence to her. "Why don't you take some time to get ready, and I'll walk up to Luxembourg Gardens while I wait. Take your time and text me when you're ready to explore," I offered. "Thank you," she said, and I was off. Our second meeting wasn't much longer than our first. 5 minutes, a series of kisses, and a couple of sentences. Our relationship was taking place in very short spurts. Much later, Audie told me that she appreciated this gesture to give her a little space more than I could have ever known. She told me that men were very impatient and would oftentimes get upset with her while she got ready, in her experience up to that point. Men want you to look good, but they don't want to wait the time it takes for a woman to look good, she told me. I made a note to myself, never rush a woman when she's getting ready. While Audie was getting ready, I leisurely strolled towards Luxembourg Gardens, and right as I was arriving at the entrance, I encountered an age-old Paris tradition, a protest. I wasn't sure what was being protested because of my inability to read the text written in French on their poster boards. One thing I knew for certain, these people were really upset and they wanted change. "What are they protesting?" I asked a bored Parisian. "No idea," he responded. "This is what I love about French people. They love a protest. More like the act of protesting. The cause doesn't seem to matter as much. The French seem to be the original justice warriors and wear the badge with pride." I was walking on cloud nine as I made my way through the throng of protesters while drinking in the beautiful spring Paris air. The flowers were in bloom, their fragrant scents wafted through the air as the breeze carried them through the park, creating nature's version of a Macy's fragrance counter. Mother Earth always finds a way to do everything better than our cheap facsimile of the original. Then something hit me. Something I hadn't felt or thought about in a really long time. I was happy, genuinely happy. I was excited by the prospect of being alive on this crazy place we call Earth. Life seemed exciting. I felt completely detached from responsibility, since when you're in a foreign country on vacation, absolutely nothing is expected of you. There are no dentist visits, no bills piled up on a desk that need paying, no emails or text messages that need to be attended to. Hell, no one even knew where I was, minus Kevin and Frank, and they only had a vague idea. They knew that I was in Paris, but in a city with more than 2 million people, I knew there was little chance I would see them again until the end of this rendezvous. Frank, Kevin, and I had spent the previous evening in Paris together. We had dinner at a quaint cafe in the left bank and marveled at the parade of beautiful women that were blanketing the city. While we were eating, we happened to be seated next to a woman who was the editor of Vogue. After we commented about the outlandish number of beautiful women walking around, she alerted us to a newsflash that everyone in Paris already knew. "It's Fashion Week," she told us. "You picked a marvelous time to be in France. I like to call it Men's Fantasy Week. It's a buffet," she said with a laugh. Fashion Week was in full bloom, and there was no shortage of magazine cover-worthy women doing everything they could to get our heads a-turning. The three of us had dinner and watched the city unfold before our very eyes. Frank and Kevin began making plans for the next few days as I demurred and didn't commit to anything. I knew the moment this meal was over, I wouldn't have another meaningful conversation with them until we were backstage at our theater in Fort Worth. As I walked through the park, I realized that I was free, no responsibility. No one knew where I was, and nor did anyone care. The world was my oyster, and I was going to slurp it down and chase it with horseradish and cocktail sauce. "I'm ready," Audie wrote me about 30 minutes after I left her. "I'm coming back to get you. Let's go explore the city," I responded as I turned and quickly made my way back to the hotel. Paris, a beautiful woman, freedom. Everything that I had gone through, every tear, broken heart, seeds of doubt, vanished in that instant with the possibilities that lay ahead. I was in my mid-40s, and for the first time in a very long time, I felt alive again. I felt home. Paris, where have you been all my life?